Good morning, afternoon or evening, my loves, wherever you are and whatever time it is. Welcome back to The Library is Open. So I hope you brought your library cards, my darlings, and I hope you're very well. You find me today on a Tuesday. A Tuesday at the beginning of August. I know you'll probably see this later in the month, but, you know, in the interests of full disclosure, that's when it is, and you know, what's going on. It's a bit gloomy outside, and I'm here to do yet another, the fifth episode, I believe now. Yeah, the fifth episode in this, my Waterstones Deansgate Summer Reading vlog. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'm not going to explain it all again. You know what to do. Pop onto my channel and have a look for the previous episodes. You know, it's a series. So, oh, I'll tell you what else also occurred to me the other day. I was thinking, I never mentioned, like, what I'm drinking tea-wise at the moment, which is strange because, like, books and tea are my thing, aren't they? So, I've just been boiling some tea. So, yeah, I can't multitask at all because I was pouring at the same time. And today I am having a tea from Bird and Blend, which is, I'm not sponsored, but it is my favourite tea company. They do all sorts of amazing blends, but today I'm having mint pistachio, I believe it's called, with a tiny little bit of soy milk, and this is like a rooibos tea with lots of mint, which I love. First sip, heavenly. I actually, interestingly enough, I actually got onto rooibos tea. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, you know what I mean by it. From reading Alexander McCall Smith's The #1 Ladies Detective Agency, because they always drink red bush tea on that. So I went through a phase of that, and then that kind of opened me up. Going back years now, but you get the idea. Anyway, shut up, Stuart, again with the wrap up. But oh yes, I'll link Bird and Blend in the description. So, quick, I know I say that every week, wrap up of the previous prompts that I did. If you recall, the first one was to review a book on waterstones.com, but as we determined, well, I determined and you just watched, I'm not going to do that until the very end of the project, and then I'll review my favourite book of, like, the whole thing, of all of the books that I've read over the course of the challenge. So that's when I'm going to do that, so that's why. Bit of delayed gratification there. But the second prompt was to read a book with a purple cover. Slightly random prompt, but hey ho. So I read The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner, which is a dual timeline historical novel about an apothecary who helped women to poison men in their lives back in the 1700s. I think so. You're gonna have to trust me on that. Or it might have been the 1800s. It was one of the hundreds. And then in the present day, we have a woman whose marriage is kind of falling apart, and she travels to England on what should have been a couple's trip, and then she discovers the story and starts to investigate. This is really nice. It's really fun. A nice quick read with certain kind of thriller elements, but more thriller in the sense of there's kind of not a rush against time, a race against time or anything like that, because obviously the die is already cast in the historical section, so really it's more, the thriller aspects are about how and when our modern day protagonist is going to discover what happened, and the mystery sort of teased out quite nicely. There's some lovely stuff in this. As I say, it's a very quick read with, there's actually three perspectives here. 2 in one timeline, 1 in the present day, and if you're interested in kind of the hidden story behind London, albeit with a slightly fantastical bent, then this might be for you. I enjoyed it. Will I reread it? No, probably not, but I would read another book by Sarah Penner if it was in a kind of similar vein. So yeah, that's the first one. Second up was to treat yourself to a new book. Treat yourself to a new book, as if I need an excuse, but I did. And I ended up going with, was it Treat Yourself, or was it the last book you bought? It was one of those two. Anyway, either way, what I did read was Tess Gunty's The Rabbit Hutch. Now, this is a very strong contender for my favourite book of the entire readathon at the moment. Obviously can't say at the moment, but this is one of those books that is kind of, it almost defies explanation, because it's about nothing and everything. I believe this is her debut novel as well, and I'll try and give a quick précis. So it's set in this, it's set in like a sort of dying town in the American, well, it's Indiana, and it's a kind of town where, you know, like industry has left, and we are, or rather the residents are kind of struggling to get by, and so on and so forth. And it's almost a little bit like Crash or something, you know, that film where there's seemingly disparate plot lines that all end up coalescing around the same kind of central one, which is about a young girl called Blandine who shares this flat with these three teenage boys. They were all orphans, and she is obsessed with the lives of the she mystics, also sort of biblical seers, prophetesses from yesteryear. It's a great name, yesteryear, isn't it? And then it's we begin with the knowledge that she is going to, quote unquote, exit her body at some point, and then the rest of the story is about different characters that come into her orbit. And I just think it's a really beautiful meditation on class, big business, religion, women, you know, all the big hitters, elegantly written, in a way that doesn't spell out absolutely everything for you, which, you know, just beautiful. I had a really, really great time with this one. I would recommend the book rather than the audiobook because there's quite a lot of illustrative content in it, which you might miss out on if you listen to it. However, you know, if that's your preferred medium, then fill your boots. The fourth prompt was to read a book recommended by a friend, and I read The Wonderful Black Swan Green by David Mitchell, as recommended by the fabulous bestie friend Paul from Those Vegan Guys, always linked down below. This is beautiful. This is set in the 80s, and it's like a series of episodes, or a diary almost, of this young man, schoolboy I should say, in the 80s, and kind of the growing pains, adolescence, again similar to The Rabbit Hutch in some ways, in the sense that it feels like it's about a lot more than what's on the page. And what David Mitchell does so beautifully, he did it in Cloud Atlas as well, and I'm sure in the rest of his writing. Sorry, I think I've still got eyelash glue on my lid. I have Bast, I promise. What he does so beautifully is that he sort of lulls you into this sense of expectation of mundanity or something, and oh, this is not really about anything, and then he just absolutely destroys you with some beautiful sentences that have such insight into the human condition. I really, really like this, particularly if you like reading about the kind of recent past as well. It's very evocative of that decade, Thatcherism, strikes, the kind of consumer gone madness of the decade and stuff. And obviously knowing what's coming, there's a lot of lovely little, you know, in subsequent years, there's a lot of sort of little nods to that, and also some real profundity about family and love and, you know, first kiss, first whatever. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. If you're wondering as well, Black Swan Green is the name of the village. I thought it was going to be a bit sci-fi-ish, but no, that's the name of the village where he lives. So just goes to show. And the fifth and final prompt was to read a book by an LGBT plus author, and as we said last time, I chose to read It Takes Blood and Guts, the autobiography. Do you ever do that with words that you fully will know how to pronounce, but you just put like a weird inflection in sometimes? I do. But yes, so this is the autobiography of, nearly did it again, of Skin, famously the front woman of Skunk and Nancy, one of my absolute favourite bands. And I've had this for about a year, because I got it over a year. I got it for my birthday in 2021, and finally getting around to read it. And, you know, I had a great time with this. I mean, the thing with autobiography is, if you like the person who you're reading about, I mean, unless you you know, really went off the deep end as an author or a co-author or whatever, I mean, you'd go a long way to not have people enjoy learning more about someone they... I mean, I don't know why you would buy an autobiography of someone that you weren't already interested in. So, I mean, it's kind of a gimme in a way. But this is very, very well written, and really provides an insight, I think, into Skin as an artist. What's most interesting is that Skin comes across as the person you kind of perceive when you see her perform as a solo artist or as part of Skunk Anansie. So, you know, this politically motivated figure, you know, this iconic queer black woman who, you know, is defying and redefining those stereotypes and roles at a time when that wasn't really being done, particularly, you know, in the genre of music that she was playing in and with. So that's really, really interesting. So almost as a historical document, even if you're not kind of a fan of the band or Skin herself, that's interesting, because I suppose that's the good thing about autobiographies, isn't it, is that they are very much rooted in a sense of place. I mean, before and past and present, and maybe, you know, speculations about the future. So, you know, you sort of absorb almost by osmosis their experience of that time period. So I suppose, you know, even if you're interested in social history, it would absolutely be worth it. But for me, as I say, a huge fan of Skunk Anansie and of Skin as, yeah, I'll say it, an absolute icon. This was a joy to finally get to read. She is quite private in some places. She's very candid in others. But, you know, she sort of doesn't hold back on things, but she sort of implicitly asks that you respect her privacy when it comes to certain areas of her life, which is absolutely fair, because, you know, all our stories are, well, our stories, and we have the right to control what we would like that narrative to be, and that needn't be through lying. It can just be through sort of, you know, designating what information is public and what information still belongs to us. So, slight diatribe there. Use that for your dissertations, quote me. But yeah, so there we go. They were the penultimate prompts. I had a great reading week with those, and now I guess it's time to find the last five, the final five prompts for this reading challenge. So, without further ado, shall we look at what they are? Yes. Let's. Okay, so let's get on it with this last set of prompts. You'll see there a blank square without a cross, as you know, and as I've said, that is review a book on waterstones.com, which I'm going to do at the very end in the final vlog of the series. But working down in that last column, highlighted in purple, our prompts are a book set during summer. It's very apt. Treat yourself to a new book. Oh, so the previous prompt was the last book you bought and not treat yourself. Fair play. A book based on a true story. A stand alone. And a book by an author that is new to you. Oh, I quite like that one, because that doesn't necessarily mean a brand new author, just an author you've never read from before. But what will I choose? Let's find out, shall we? Oh, aye. Here we go then, for the fifth and final time. Oh, I'm filling up now. I'm not really. It was just a moment for you. I'm acting. Yeah, let's dive in. First prompt. So, a book set during summer. This was quite surprisingly difficult, actually. I had to Google books set in summer, because that's the kind of basic person that I am. But then I remembered that I had this poetry anthology. Well, poetry collection, I should say. It's not an anthology, it's by one author. That I've been meaning to read for ages, that I got January, I want to say. Was it January? When was it published? Yeah, last year. So I think I got this in January. So this is called Rotten Days in Late Summer, and it's by Ralph Webb. And I thought, well, summer in the title has to work for that prompt, doesn't it? Of course it does. It's my readathon. And the blurb for this poetry collection, I always think blurbs for poetry collections are quite difficult probably to kind of formulate, because, you know, it's not... I mean, of course, there's usually some kind of narrative arc, but that kind of puts you in a position whereby you've got to theme the collection when maybe it was just a series of thoughts and stuff. But hey-ho. It says, set mostly in the West Country of Ralph Webb's youth and tracing masculinity and mental health through a world of boyish factory workers, Ferris wheels, and salt-baked limbs. This is the first collection of sensuous and thrilling assurance. So that should be a nice, quick read, but what I'm probably going to do is savour that and just do a couple of poems at a time in order to really kind of appreciate them. I don't feature poetry enough on this channel, so if you would like more, do let me know in the comments. The next 2 prompts I'm going to combine because I can do what I want. I'm a free spirit. And it turns out this time the prompt was treat yourself to a new book. So the previous wrap-up was the last book you bought. So I have. Now, I don't know if this technically counts as a treat because it is for work. But hey-ho. I suppose it is a treat because I like my job. So, but I'm going to combine this prompt with a book based on a true story. And I have picked up A Secret Life, Aphra Behn by Janet Todd. Now, Aphra Behn is kind of a notorious figure, primarily in theatre history, I think, but also on a much wider scale. Like historically, she was the first woman, well, that we are aware of historically, to earn her living entirely as a writer. She was a playwright, but also a spy, apparently. And I'm working on an edit of one of her plays at the moment. I won't say too much, depending on when this goes up, more later. So I thought, well, actually, in order to do justice to that edit, you know, and the piece of writing that she'd done, I would like to know more about her as a person. So I thought if I combine those 2 prompts and a bit of work as well, then it just kind of, it makes my life a little bit easier, doesn't it? And I do think she's a very interesting figure. It says here, author, spy, and political propagandist. She lived from 1640 to 1689 and was one of the most extraordinary figures in the history of English literature, a female polymath, an outlier who rose from humble origins to come close to the heart of power. So there we go. I shall let you know how I get on with that. She is thick with 2 C's, but clearly there's a lot of life to be got in there. And it's also blurred by Emma Donoghue, who was the author, I believe, of Room. And that book, I can't remember the name of it. It was about the Spanish influenza epidemic. It'll come to me. But that seems like a good seal of approval to me. So that's right. Let's count up where we are now. We've done summer. We've done that. Oh, yes, a standalone. Well, that could have literally been anything. So what I have really wanted to get to for a long time now is this one that I picked up totally at random at Waterstones a while back, and it's called The Very Nice Box, and it's by Laura Blackett and Eve Gleichman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It says, the blurb says, Ava Simon designs storage boxes for Sturda, a slick Brooklyn-based furniture company. She's hardworking, obsessive, and heartbroken from a tragedy that killed her girlfriend and upended her life. But when Ava's new boss, the young and magnetic Matt Putnam, offers Ava a ride home one afternoon, an unlikely relationship blossoms. Ava remembers how rewarding it can be to open up, and despite her hesitancy, she starts to fall for him. But what if she can't put her trust in Matt? And it's described as darkly comic and suspenseful, but definitely fulfills the brief of standalone. And the simplicity of that cover just really, really satisfies me. I've read that somewhere that it's very satirical, and that the use of language is gorgeous. So that's my prompt for that. And then finally, the whole last prompt of the readathon is to read from an author that is new to you. And as per tradition, can one call it a tradition? Why not? For this particular reading challenge series of vlogs, I'm going to do an audiobook, and I'm going to read the new book by Riley Sager, which is called The House Across the Lake, which I don't know an awful lot about it yet. I kind of don't want to, but from what I understand, it's a kind of riff on Rear Window, with a woman who is staying at a cabin. She's recently bereaved, and she takes to spying on her neighbours, and then something goes awry. Now, I have heard a lot about Riley Sager as a kind of thriller, mystery, crime-ish, twisted writer. Twisted. It's not a personal comment on Booktube. So I thought, well, you know what? Let's take this opportunity. The cover intrigues me, and I'm looking for a new audiobook, so let's give that a try. So I shall report back and let you know how I get on. So there we have it. The penultimate episode of this. My final one will be the wrap-up, and that is when I will decide which book I will review on Waterstones.com, taking everything into account. And then we'll be done for the summer. Yeah. Sad, isn't it? It's nearly September again now. Sniff, sniff. But cool. So there we go. So put your library card somewhere safe, please, my darlings. Until next time, do drop me a comment in the, well, comments, if you like. If you don't, give me a thumbs up as well. I'm finally over 500 subscribers, which is lovely, because I'm aware that I haven't actively gone out there really and tried to get subscribers. But that's cool, because I feel like the people that are here are the people that want to be here, and this is just a really nice thing for me to do. And I enjoy the kind of online relationship that we have as a little corner of Booktube. So anyway, in the meantime, do take care of yourselves. Wear sunscreen if you go out and it's sunny. Take a brolly if it's rainy. And I will see you very soon. Mwah.